In this video, I'm gonna go over training mistakes I've made and how you can avoid them and save yourself hours, if not years, of wasted time in the gym. So trust me, this is gonna be a game changer. I wish I'd have seen this video a lot sooner. It would have sped up my results. And this is what I teach my clients. It makes a massive difference if we just avoid these from day one. So without further ado, let's dive into this. So pretty much the first mistake that I see, and I've done it for a long time, is see my rest periods, they were a lie. I'm not saying that you shouldn't actually rest. What I'm saying is I used to lie to myself and go, yeah, it's roughly 2 minutes. And sometimes I would get inconsistent, and whenever I started filming my workouts, this is when I really realized it. And I'm telling you right now, you're probably inconsistent with this, even though you don't realize it. Sometimes you'll get a rest. You might be timing yourself for 2 minutes rest, okay? That's your goal, because that's gonna be probably in around 2 to 3 minutes optimal. And then sometimes you'll be on WhatsApp and you'll end a 4 to 5 minute rest. Sometimes you'll be chatting to somebody and end up with a 5 to 6 minute. And then other times, you'll be so zoned in with music that you're probably training 1. So then we have this range of sets in different rests. And the problem with this is you're going to be stronger the more you rest. So then your lifts, whenever you're tracking them week on week and you're not tracking your rests, is going to be stronger some weeks, and you're going to think the programming's off or there's something else that's to blame, when in reality, some weeks you're actually just resting more than others. This is why I actually do think 2 to 3 is the most optimal rep range or optimal rest time you can get. So ignore the 1. This is nuts. I think 2 is the bare minimum. 4 to 5, you're going to be out there all day, and so is 5 to 6. Now, it's okay to have a conversation, but if you're into this, I used to hang a stopwatch around my neck and have the big overhead headphones as a solution, because when you have AirPods in, people always go, they want you to pull them out. When you've got big ass headphones on, it's more like a F off, I'm getting stuck in. So please be super tight with your rest periods. These are more important than you realize. If you're rushing them and taking too small, you're never going to be able to build the strength you need to put on the muscle. Remember, this 2 to 3 minutes per set will give you enough rest that you can actually progress the overload, and that will make the biggest difference. So some rules I would give you of rest periods is I would actually time them. I know this sounds really odd, but if we actually put rules in place, and I'll just even write rules here just for ease. Okay, if we break down rules, time your rest periods. Just do it. Trust me, it's a massive difference. No phone. And I would say zone in. If somebody comes over and talks to you, it's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, or your training partner. But what I would say is just simply turn around and go, look, that's my rest up. I need to kick in between the sets. But I do think just having the crack at the end or start of your workouts is always the best way to do it. That way you're not ruining your flow. Because if you get inconsistent rest times, what's going to happen is you'll go in and you'll bench 225 pounds, like 100 kilograms for 8 reps. You'll take 90 seconds rest 1 week and struggle to even do 225. The next week you take 4 minutes rest because you're having the crack with your friend or your training partner, and you'll do 230 pounds for 8 reps, and you'll be like, I'm so much stronger, but you just rested longer. So the consistency is really, really key here, because are you stronger, or are you just giving yourself more recovery? So this will keep all these consistent. And when we do, we get a better idea if the training's actually working that you're doing. If you have no idea what rest time you're really doing, it means you're not measuring. And if you're not measuring, you can't manage, and we will struggle to see a result. You do not need to be the most instructed person ever, but I do want you just to take that into consideration. If you're not timing your rest, or you're taking too short in particular, that's going to hold you back, especially too long, not the end of the world, too short, disaster. If you are taking really long rest periods and you're logbooking it, just note it. Just write in the notebook being like, extra rest here, feel great. I think mistake number 2, enough people don't take into consideration. I don't know if this is really going to be a phone, but it's pretty much an old school phone, just so you're aware. It looks like a phone screaming, but it's no phone. I really do think this is the bane of the gym. The reason being is I have no problem with using your phone. Like, I don't use social media on mine, but I do think the one thing that people do not take into consideration when they do this is whenever you have your phone on you, what you do is you lose focus. Tell me anybody who's on their phone and doesn't get triggered. And if you're busy with work or family, this should be the one time where you can really focus on yourself, your enjoyment, listen to good music and zone out. You do not need to be stimulated and getting your dopamine deprived. You don't need to have external messages all the time. And you might say, oh, that's well for you. I used to go to the gym and the fire service, and if something went off, they would come get me just before they go out. Trust me, if there's that big of an emergency and they just come and get me, it's okay. And in reality, if it is an emergency, like, what are you going to do? You're in the gym, you're probably 20 minutes away. It's not ideal. I just want to highlight everything else can wait. Use this time like solace, like work on yourself. And you'll also notice that you'll be able to bring more intensity in your actual sessions, lift more weight, and you'll see better results. Sometimes it's actually just the effort of intensity and focusing on the task that makes the biggest difference. Do you think Ronaldo goes out to the football pitch and has his phone on him? Do you think the real big bodybuilders, the physique competitors, the best athletes, the people in the best shape scroll in between their sets? Or when you look around the gym, do the people scrolling on their phones in between their sets usually look the worst? And it's clear, it's like evidence, and there's the proof. It's like they go hand in hand. We all know the people that go in, do a set, and just sit and scroll, versus the people that are walking about, bumping their head to music, zoning in, getting ready for actually training hard. Think about it. If you had to do a really hard task, you do not want to scroll before it. It's going to fry you for actually committing and doing proper hard work. Other things you can do is, like, I did delete social media off my phone because I couldn't stop scrolling. So that just removed that problem for me, and it made a massive difference because I stopped scrolling. There's nothing to do. Otherwise, you've got dating apps, you've got Property Pal just to look at houses that you can't afford. And the funniest thing is, even if you've not got social media, you can end up wasting your time on these. So I use apps like Opal, or I just literally plug in the playlist and I go. And yes, I listen to country, Morgan Wallen and stuff like that whenever I train. It's weird as hell, but you know, do whatever motivates you. Man, so white girl, it hurts. Like, right, into the next one. I don't know why I keep putting the lid back on this, but here we go. It's a warm-up. I think this is a big mistake people make. I used to actually do sets to warm up, like quite a large amount. I used to stretch, I used to do everything. And there's actually studies to back that if you just do static stretching, you just hold a stretch for like 30 seconds, you can actually lower your power output. It's good for flexibility. It doesn't always mean it's good for building muscle because it can affect your force output. Now, what I would say is, I think warming up wrong is a big mistake. So what I would honestly do is do 5 mins, not minutes, on the treadmill. And the reason for that is that's going to allow us to walk, zone in, get mentally ready for it. And then if you need to do any mobility drills, that is fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but I would keep it slightly dynamic. So like, Joe, a small stretch dynamic is best, in my opinion, where you're pulsing in and out of it. Get used to actually shortening and lengthening. Or if you could tight hips in your squat and anything like that is fine. After that, you want to do feeder sets. And I think a lot of people get this wrong. Feeder sets are not meant to take forever. All you want to do is pick your actual working weight. So if you're unsure, you're just going to go in and practice anyway. But I would probably take, like, honestly, 40, 60, 80, and then 100% weight, right? And we look at these in terms of percentages. You just want to do somewhere around, I'm actually going to draw that out again. So look, I'm going to take a fresh page for feeders because I think this is the best way you can actually warm up, and people absolutely mess this up all the time. And as a result, they end up injured. If you warm up too much, you waste energy. If you warm up too little, it's asking for an injury in reality. So I think one of the best ways to do feeders is to do multiple warm-up sets without real rest in between. So if we take, say in terms of percentage, we take 100% of your working weight is, say, 100 kilograms, just to make it easy. So this is like 225 pounds, just so you can do math. Okay? Simple. All I want you to do is roughly, it doesn't even need to be perfect. It's just go 40, 60, 80%, right? And it's really, really simple from here. All I want you to do is just do, like, say, 6 to 10 reps here, do 3 to 5, and then do 2 to 3. You should barely even feel this. Like, it should be that simple to do in terms of reps, right? And all this will do is just warm up that movement pattern for you. That's really what we're after here. It's just getting you used to the movement, getting blood to where it should be. Fluid, like synovial fluid in that joint. And if you need extra sets to warm up, work away, but you don't even need to take rest in between these. Just load up the plates and go. This should take you like 5 minutes max. And once you get in the flow, you'll realize it. Some days you need more feeder sets, some days you need less. But always make sure you're ready for a hardcore set. Just don't waste, like, doing 10 reps at 80%. You're just wasting energy. Once you're warmed up, the goal is in reality to move you forward and get you lifting as optimal as possible, as fast as possible. For the record, I'm not against stretching. I do it all the time, but I tend to stretch like lower on upper days and vice versa, which probably sounds so counterintuitive, but I'm working on flexibility. So like, I'll actually hold a stretch for time or just simply do it after your workout. Nothing wrong with it. I still see people do static stretching before lifting and they have great physiques, but it usually tends to relax the muscle and reduce tension and affect your force output. So there is studies to back that. However, I think it's more so just finding something that gets you in the groove yourself. And I think that this activates neural function better. So like the link to the muscle, my muscle, the movement pattern rep, and then you get ready to lift heavier. And I'm, touch wood, I very rarely get injured through a lift. Maybe something stupid like falling, yes, but not the actual lift or movement itself. So look, number 4 is going to be simply training partners. All right. So whenever we break this down and we look at it, I think people don't realize that this can actually be a mistake. I need to get used to writing while I'm on camera because I keep on spelling things wrong. Like, look at that. But training partners can actually be a bad thing. And the reason for this is there's multiple problems. Not only does it now mean you have to meet somebody at a specific time, your motivation can rely on them. If they don't go, are you really going to go? And I also think there's 2 main circles that I break down in a framework when somebody talks to me about who they train with, right? We have your focus, all right, which is super important when you train. And then we have like your actual like social life, all right? And there is a sweet spot, like in here, I'll write sweet. This wee sweet spot where you do get individuals who push you, they focus you, they push you in the right direction. Don't know how many times I'm going to say push. And you can also socialize them. But the majority of training partners will usually fall somewhere in here. They'll never really hit the target mark. Very rare you get somebody who's too focused. And if you do, they're actually quite annoying because you're like, what's the point in listening together? This is like a robot. This is like training with a bodybuilder. This sweet spot is perfect because you get a bit of fun, a bit of crack, but you also get the focus. But 90% of people do not fall in here. And I really want to highlight that to you. This is where your optimal is. And I honestly don't know if this trade-off is worth the fact that you're going to have to suit their time and yours together. You're going to have to make sure it all lines up, be on the same training plan. You might have weak delts, you might have weak biceps, and as time moves on, that can be difficult. The best time for this is when you start, or if you really need the intensity to drive up and you're training with somebody way better than you. So it's important to know that. I think that's a really good thing, and that was number 4, if I'm correct. Number 5, right? This is a favorite of me. So number 5 is 2. Oh, is it 1-0? Is it 2? Too many. And you're wondering what? Exercises. We would essentially call this junk volume. I think junk is one of the best ways to know it. And you can actually get this through the amount of sets or the amount of exercises. So I want to highlight sets as well, because it's going to be one or the other. You get people who do 2 sets, but they do 10 different exercises. Like, son, how many chest movements do you need? You see people that are doing 10 different triceps. In reality, once you do a tricep movement that fully extends your arm behind you with your elbow like this, like a rope push down, dual arm, your elbows behind you, extend. That's the tricep fully shortened. And one where your tricep is, your elbow is overhead and you extend, you've now fully stretched the tricep, fully shortened it. Maybe to touch, you might want like a V-bar or something where your elbows are in front and you can really load. The M3 exercise is probably all you really need throughout the week. So doing loads of random exercises just to mix it up or shock the muscle or give you DOMs, delayed onset muscle soreness, is in reality probably just a waste of time. And then you get people who will pick these exercises and then they'll do like 30 sets. Like people that are going in doing 20 chest exercises on a chest day. You're not Ronnie Coleman. You're going to grow better more than likely by spreading it out. Not everybody is. You'll see people go, I grew up a bro split. Remember, when people say this, model what they've done to grow. Because what you'll notice is people who tend to do junk volume will tend to have bigger muscle groups in certain areas. So people who go way higher in sets will normally, and I'm saying this, normally have bigger arms. Because I've just noticed this in general. So this is the people who do bro splits, right? And then the people who do too many exercises tend to actually end up with, I know this sounds odd, the exact opposite. They tend to end up with smaller arms and delts and usually bigger chest and back. This is just what I've noticed. So these are almost like the people who do push-pull legs. You notice they end up with bigger chest, back, smaller delts and arms. And the exact opposite is due for the people who do like the bro splits. So we don't want junk, because junk volume is not going to help us grow, just so you're aware. Like, more is not always better. I think whenever you're a beginner, you always think, like, if I can just keep doing more and more and more, and say this is a graph, and I can just keep increasing my volume, my muscle is just going to keep going up as well. Like, my muscle is just going to naturally, let me grab. This is your volume. So your red's your volume, your total amount of sets. And then people assume that this is going to follow. And the simple fact is, it will, but at some point, you'll actually get diminishing returns. You might still increase a little bit, or you could end up even dropping. So it's really individually dependent. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, and it comes back to bite them in the ass. So the main key, and where you know where your volume or too much junk volume is, you'll PO, no PO. So no progressive overload. When you cannot get stronger anymore, when you're not seeing a difference in your physique, you're probably actually doing too much, not too little. That's usually the case in the gym. I've drawn that much, that we are done. I'm like Picasso over here. This has to be the worst. I don't know whether this was a really good idea or not. I would love feedback in the comments about the drawings. If you enjoy it, it's a laugh. If it's not, we'll go back to just doing the editing. But yeah, it's just one of these things. I thought it would be good. It's just different, and I'm enjoying it. Keeps me in flow, more natural. Next up, number 6, if I'm correct, is changing, right? So not gender before everybody goes nuts. Jesus, I don't know if I buried myself in the ground there. But in reality, changing exercises too much or anything. I think one of the worst things you can do is people do a training plan, so you do a training plan, 4 weeks go by, and you're like, do you know what? I seen somebody else on Instagram doing calisthenics, or they were doing arms before their leg days. So then you go back and start again. And pretty much what happens is, when we break this down and we look at it, is you start training here, right? And you need 12 weeks of consistency to see results, okay? So here's when you actually look in the mirror and you go, God damn, I actually look great, right? But what happens is every 4 weeks, you go, oh, that influencer's workout looks good. And you go back to a new start point. And then, 4 weeks go by and you go, oh, do you know what? Keto looks fucking good. And then you go back to the start point. And you never actually reach an end point to figure out, does high volume work for you? Does low volume work for you? Does keto work for you? Whatever it is, you need to stick with something for about 10 to 12 weeks. And then once you hit this point, you're either going to notice you either get progress and it goes up, it stays the same, or you very rarely go down. And And what you want to do here is just assess what worked well and what doesn't. So for me, I know for my delts, triceps, biceps, and most muscle groups in general, if I'm struggling to grow, a bit more volume helps, but there is a point of, as I said, diminishing returns, and I just need to find that out. Most people are addicted to variety to spice things up, but I tell you what's better than recruits, actually getting results. Some of my clients are so surprised whenever I keep them on the same training plan for like 12 or 16 weeks, and I'm like, but you look better every single week. Consistency and results beats novelty every day of the week. Next up, we have number 7, which is going to be one that's going to annoy you. It's going to be filming yourself, or lack of. This is going to be one that's very controversial, and it's going to be simply not filming yourself, okay? Jesus, that's a terrible way. The reason for this is most people think they're training hard until you film yourself. So one thing I want to highlight to you is if I asked you the speed of your first rep and we put that at 100% speed, okay? How you know you're hitting true failure or close to it is that first rep should not look like the last rep, okay? This rep should be about 50% of the speed, or sorry, the last rep should be 50% of the speed of the first rep. I really want to highlight that. If it is not, you're not near failure. You need to keep going regardless of how you feel, okay? When you film yourself, you see multiple things, and I want to break this down. So whenever you film yourself and we come over here, what do you think that happens whenever you actually film your training? You get to see your form, so you can obviously see if you're messing up. You're going to notice if your back is arching during RDL. You're going to also see your intensity. So this is really, really key. I'm going to stick that in, intensity. And then you're also going to notice the time. You're going to notice how long you take in between your rests. And it's really, really vital. Now, do you need to film every set and have a tripod? You can literally take off your shoe, put your phone in a shoe or spur or whatever against your water bottle, film, and that's it. You will notice that these 3 things alone, nailed, will make a massive difference for your overall result. And I think if you never film yourself, it's usually a red flag with me in terms of performance, because if I can't see you train hard enough on a set where you film yourself and send it to me, for example, I know you're not training hard enough normally. So how are we going to come over this? I'm going to give you a bulletproof method. So what I want you to do is I want you to turn your phone in airplane mode, or remove social media, get a playlist ready. That's step 1. Step 2 now is going to be using a visual timer app so you can actually see it. So if your phone is there, or you buy a stopwatch, use it just to get your rest periods right for a while. 3, I want specific warm-ups. You shouldn't be taking more than like 10 minutes to really warm up, in my opinion. I think anything more is a bit overkill. Number 4 would be train alone and actually focus on really getting into flow. Like, enjoy it. Like, take it as downtime, take it as mental health training as well as physical. I think that's one of the best things. The data will tell you what works best for you, and I think this will really benefit quite a large amount. So make sure you're resting 2 minutes. Phone in airplane mode, put your app blockers on, delete your socials like me, become a hermit. Use the feeder sets, train solo. I would film a couple sets as well. But honestly, you'll notice a massive difference if you actually do this and you stick to the same program and you progressively overload. It's relatively all simple advice you would know, and you'll actually probably have aggression towards 1 or 2 pieces of advice, but that's a good thing because that's probably where I would say the friction is, and the result you're looking for is usually in the work you're hiding. For example, if you have a weak point, filming your sets where the weak point is probably makes a lot of sense, because if everything else is growing but not that, you know, it's somebody who has big biceps will probably be able to get you big biceps if you're constantly doing that wrong. Look, hopefully that's been a massive benefit to you. If you want more training advice, please like, share, subscribe. And if you want a free training plan for a 3-day, 4-day, or 5-day, just DM me 3-day, 4-day, or 5-day program on Instagram and I'll send it over, or Facebook. Hope you have a good one. Big love. I'll see you in the next.